Okay, another simple kit from Banggood. This is the triangular light kit from, as I say, Geekcreit. Well, Banggood, the actual maker is Geekcreit. And quite simply, we have a chip, some hardware, mini USB connector. We've got a little ceramic cap in there, whole bunch of LEDs, and these have got 4 pins on them, so I'm suspecting they're going to be multicoloured. So I'll put one of them like that, and you can see one of them has got a long pin on there, the very longest pin, and the longest pin will always go in the square pin on the board, so you can see where the position of all the pins are. One of these per LED. So a fair bit of soldering there actually, to be honest, but it's all through hole, so that's easy enough. And the chip has no, there's a electrolytic cap there. The chip has no socket, so it's soldered straight to the board. So let's get cracking. Now, the first thing you have to do is decide whether you want to power up the device using a separate power supply, in which case you just put a couple of wires on there, or you want to use the mini USB port. And if you want to use the mini USB port, which is that guy there, then I think it recommends you cut off the middle 3 pins, because all it's doing is using the power supply lines, which are the 2 outer ones. I can never remember which is negative and positive, but I think, I don't know, any rate, but the middle 3 lines are going to be, I guess, transmit, receive, and common for data transmission, which obviously we don't need. So yeah, that's the kit. There's just one resistor there. I'm not sure what that is yet. That's probably the capacitor, I would have thought. And yeah, so it's all pretty straightforward. The trick with this is that the LEDs are installed at different heights. So like that, then like that, then like that. There's only there's 1, 2, and then the middle one. So the outer layer and the inner layer, and then a single LED right in the middle. So that single LED will be the tallest of all of them, and then the next level down will come to, well, the top of the next level down, or the top of the LED of the next level down, will come to the bottom of the middle LED, like that, and so on. And after that, it's pretty much done. So as you can see, that's where the chip goes. A resistor, that's probably the ceramic cap. And there's also a touch sensitive contact there to make it do whatever. I don't know, but once it's together, we'll have a look. And that's where the electrolytic cap goes. That's where the mini USB port goes. As I say, this is all through hole stuff, so it really is quite straightforward, I think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start soldering, and then if there's anything interesting to note on the way through, then I'll come back. But I don't think this is going to be too difficult. You can see there with if you look at the contact points, I actually got them marked, so plus minus on the mini USB. So the 2 outer pins you can see there. I can zoom in a bit on that. So there you can see the 2 outer pins are going to solder to those 2 pads there, plus and minus, and the 3 inner pins are redundant. So they say to cut those off. Probably not a bad idea actually, because those solder pads may cause a bridge to the inner ones. So I might very well do that. And then the 4 large pads on the outside are just for fixing the whole thing down. So they're like mounting positions. So the rest of it's all very straightforward. So I'm going to start cracking on with this, and I'll probably just go ahead and finish it off, but I'll show you the bits and pieces I go through perhaps. Just to show you what I've done with the mini USB port, I did actually decide to cut those 3 centre pins off. Again, that's just to avoid any bridging, and it will make it a bit neater to solder and a bit easier to solder. So we'll get that going on. So when soldering something like this, it's probably just as easy to, or the easiest thing to do would be just to solder one of the mounting points. Just get a bit of heat on there, a little bit of solder. Not a huge amount, just enough to tack it down, and then you can make sure that the pins are positioned correctly and it's all leveled up, and you can just heat it up again, move it about until you're happy where a position is, and then it's nice and flat against the board, and then just finish soldering off the last mounting points. Oh, so much difficult doing it with the camera in front of me, but there we go. Just get a decent blob of solder on there, so because you're plugging it in and unplugging it all the time, then you need to make sure that that connector is solidly soldered down. Seems to be, I probably should clean this board. There's a slight heat sink effect, of course, with a component like this because there's a lot of metal. But there you go, that's not too bad. Yeah, that's definitely down there. Now, of course, the actual power pins, which are there and there, they need soldering down. Let's get the solder out. That one and that one. I think that should do it. It's a bit blobby, as if that solder isn't taking quite as well as it should do. I don't quite know why. That's a bit better. Kind of grab the pin and the pad a bit more solidly. Yeah. Okay. The next thing it actually tells you to do, I think, is incidentally, if you sort of search for this on Banggood, when you look at the description, it will send you a link, which is to an Office Word file, which I've got on the iPad here, which just tells you where everything goes. It's all, I mean, it's all very straightforward. You could probably work it out yourself without the instructions, but it's as well to follow what they do, and you can see what the components, where the components are installed, and it's sort of telling you to do all the capacitors and the resistors and so on and so forth. Well, certainly the capacitors before you start putting the LEDs on. So if that's what they tell you to do, I guess that's what we should do. So let's get the electrolytic capacitor out, which is 16 volt. What's the value of that? 100 microfarad by the looks of things. And obviously electrolytic capacitors are polarity sensitive, so the short pin is negative, the long pin is positive. And if you look at the board, then you'll see that you've got a square pad similar to the square pad on the LEDs. So that means the long pin will go in there, like that. And I noticed that on their version they have put the capacitor flat to the board, which is fair enough. So what I shall do is I shall just solder up one leg, like that, not not too much solder. Make sure it's nice and flat still. That's okay. Good enough. Solder up the second one. Yeah. This board doesn't accept solder as well as they normally do on these sorts of kits, but I think they're okay. So I'll just crop those leads off. So that's that installed. Next thing to install is the little ceramic capacitor. And many of you have seen now, I don't know what the value is. I can never remember what the value of these things are. 104, I should know what it is, but I can use my magic tester, which I showed in another video, so go and check that out. And if you stick it in the test eels, clamp it down and press the magic button, it should tell you what that is. So it's an 80 nanofarad capacitor. 80? Well, that seems, I would imagine that's, well, I don't know. That's what it says. Let's test it again. No, it's 81 there. That's interesting. Let's test it again. Yeah, okay. I don't know if it matters if I put it on pin 3 and 1, see if that makes any difference to the test result. No, 80 nanofarad, fair enough. I'm not convinced of that. I'd have to look up the number. Any rate, so there we go. And that little capacitor goes in there like that. I don't like bending the legs on these capacitors because they're quite fragile. So what I'll do is I'll just solder one of these pins on the legs like that. Let's check it out. That's nice and flat. That's fine. Hitting the camera there. Sorry, give you a headache. And this one. Put enough solder on that or not. I don't like putting too much solder on these kits. Apart from anything else, I don't like holding the iron on the components too long. But I think that's okay. Fairly nice conical shaped solder joints. Okay. So that's that in. Now the next thing to do is we will solder the first LED. Now the first LED to solder is going to be our reference LED, if you like, because it will show us the height that we're going to have for the highest LED. That all the other LEDs will, I guess, be judged by. So what I'm doing is I'm using the center one. You can see the longest LED goes in the square hole, and then all the other pins in the other available holes, obviously. They're going to go through. Sure it will do. There we go. Like that. And I've not pushed it too far through. I would say that was good enough, because the shortest pin is only just popping out there, which would make me think that, just by way of reference, if I stick the next LED in, which represents the next level down, we'll get an idea of height and where they're going to be. That's not going through. These actual pins are a bit long, a bit thicker than the holes, I think. Or was it just me? I might display these out a bit. I'm struggling more than I need to, I think. Oh, let's try that. Probably a bit too much now. 1, 2, 3. I'm actually looking through the camera to do this, is probably not helping. So I think when we're looking at height, let's zoom out a little bit. What it needs to be is about there. So the top of this LED is at the base of this LED. I'm going to move that now, but that's the idea. And then the next row will come up to the base of that one. So that's basically how it works. And I will now get all of those LEDs soldered in using that configuration. I think actually somewhere along the line it actually said that what it's a good idea to do is if you screw, let's get that out, get the resistor out. What you can do is screw the hardware into the board just temporarily. If I can get it in. Like that, and do that at each corner, then it'll act as a stand, so when you're pushing the LEDs in it's easier to get them in, so I might just do that. Obviously take this back off again because we have this plastic front cover which will go on top of the LEDs somehow, or it might be there to protect the rear of the case. I'm not sure, it must be the rear of the case because yeah, so that will actually go on the back somehow. Yeah, that'll go on the back like that. Oh, I'm out of camera shot. Anyway, let's get these LEDs installed because I won't be worrying about putting the case on until I know the whole thing's working. So I'm going to put these nuts and screws in just to act as a stand while I'm doing the soldering of the LEDs, and we'll worry about putting the back of the case on, or the case back on, afterwards. And these things are not screwing them very well. Anyway, you get the idea. So let me get these LEDs in and I'll get back to you. Right, well, it's complete. All the LEDs are installed and you can see the pattern that has emerged. You can see the state of my back plate on there. I mean, the thing is with the back plate is that they've got these awfully long screws, and it doesn't flatten out against anything properly. In fact, I've overcooked it there, but if I didn't, it would just flap about. So what it actually needs is nuts that, it needs another set of nuts to raise it up. But I just did it like this just to keep it in place for the moment, sort of like it's a bit squeezed against that electrolytic cap, and you can see it's a bit bent, and then this side is sort of squeezed against the main chip. But there you go. Other than that, it's you know, it was fun to solder it. So have a look at some of the soldering on it, if you like. There we go, all cropped down, of course. There's that resistor. Let's look at the other side. Cap there, electrolytic cap there. Very, very straightforward, not a lot to it. Obviously, the important thing is to make sure that you have the orientation of the main chip correct. So you see you've got a notch there in the chip. And if you look at the, I think if I move some of the lights out of the way. Okay. Yeah, you can look on the, you can see on the silk screen, there's a notch in the silk screen, so you just need to match those two up. And that's basically it. Very, very simple. Lots of soldering, of course. You've got 4 legs per LED. I haven't counted the number of LEDs, I have to admit. There's quite a few there. So what does it do? Well, it just makes pretty light patterns is the answer to that, but that's the idea, so let's try it out. Let's zoom out a bit. And a couple of LEDs were left over, so that's good. There was a couple of spare in case they were needed. So using the mini USB, plug it in, and there we go, it starts working. Let's switch the lights off so you can see it. Now you'll see here that there's a pad, and that's a touch sensitive pad. The colours are really nice. I don't think the colours are gonna, no, I'm just trying to, the colours probably look a bit washed out on the video, but they are sort of deep purples and reds and greens and blues and all the rest of it. So yeah, it's nice. That's quite a deep blue there, but it looks a bit white on the screen, but there you go. So you can change the patterns by just touching on the pad, and there's lots of different things that it will do, like that. There's a cycle of few. So you can see what they do. There's quite a few different options here. Some are more interesting than others, obviously. And there's a lot of fading in and out of colours, which is quite nice. Very pastel-y, these colours as well. Reds, green. This particular pattern just repeats on the outside. It doesn't use the inside LEDs. But it doesn't matter, you know, there's all sorts of different types of options. Go through a few more of them. Quite an interesting one. As I say, I'm not sure this is going to look too great on the camera, but the colours, I don't know if it, just to bring it away from the light source, whether that makes it any better or not, I don't know. An interesting one, but different. Let's try a few more. I mean, I think it's a nice little thing. It's good fun to make, and it worked first time. No problems at all. There seem to be quite a few different options here. Yeah, you can have a lot of fun playing with this. So there we go, that's the pyramid or triangle LED light kit from Banggood. I'll put the proper name of it in the description. That will be good enough for you to search on Banggood to find it. Very, very cheap, easy to make, you know, can't complain. Very happy with that. Goes with my collection of other LED kits from Banggood, which I will probably do a video on at some point to show you all the kits I've made over the last year, which is quite a few, mostly clocks, which I do like, but yeah, this is a good one. Anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you again with some more stuff. Cheers for now.